10 minutes. That is how long 6 gliders full of British soldiers have to take 2 bridges before dawn, before the tanks work out what just landed in the dark, and before 60,000 men storming the beaches a few miles north find out whether they have anywhere to advance to at all. This is not a reenactment. Every position on this map, every timestamp, is drawn from the real operational record of the 6th of June, 1944. By the time this clock reaches 0026, both bridges will either be in British hands, intact, or the eastern flank of the entire Normandy invasion is finished before it starts. Here is why 2 small road bridges matter more than almost anything else that will happen this morning. The Canal and the River Orne run side by side, north to south, forming a wall between the coast and the German armor, massed inland. Whoever holds the only crossings, at Benouville and at Ranville, controls whether the British troops landing at Sword Beach can push inland at all, and whether German tanks can cross freely to hit the beachhead from the east. Major John Howard's D Company has trained for this exact mission for almost a year, rehearsing night landings on bridges built to match these 2, down to the meter. Tonight, it stops being a rehearsal. This is also the opening move of the whole night. Operation Deadstick fires the starting gun for Operation Tonga, the wider British 6th Airborne Division landing across this stretch of Normandy, hours before the first naval shell is fired at the coast. Whatever happens at these 2 bridges in the next 10 minutes happens before almost anything else on D-Day. 2256, the 5th of June, at RAF Tarrant Rushton in Dorset, 6 airspeed Horsa gliders lift off the ground behind Halifax bombers, 1 minute apart. 181 men are aboard, infantry of the Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire Light Infantry, Royal Engineers carrying explosives disposal kit, and 12 glider pilots who are about to attempt something almost nobody has done successfully before, landing a fully loaded glider in the dark, within yards of a target, with no engine and 1 attempt. Just after midnight, over the French coast near Cabourg, the tow ropes are released. From 6,000 feet, each Horsa glider is now a 100-foot wooden shape, falling silently through the dark. No engine noise to give away what is coming. Inside, in total blackout, Major Howard's glider is being flown by Staff Sergeant Jim Walwork, aiming for a field the size of a large garden that he has only ever seen on a model and in aerial photographs. 0016. Walwork puts the glider down in a triangular field beside the Canal bridge, so close that it comes to rest within yards of the objective. 2 more gliders land within the next minute or 2, almost stacked on top of the first. It is, by any measure, one of the most precise landings ever flown in combat, and the Germans guarding the bridge have no idea it has even happened yet. Lieutenant Den Brotheridge leads the 1st platoon straight across the bridge, into German positions dug in on the far bank, part of the 736th Grenadier Regiment. Roughly 50 men defending both crossings between them. Brotheridge is shot leading that charge. He becomes the first Allied soldier killed by enemy fire on D-Day. His platoon keeps moving. Within about 10 minutes of that first glider touching down, the Canal Bridge is in British hands. 500 meters east, the same plan is playing out at the River Bridge. 2 more gliders, carrying the platoons of Lieutenants Sweeney and Fox, come down close to the target and take the bridge with barely a shot fired. A 3rd glider, carrying Captain Prydeye's platoon, has landed miles off course, near the wrong river entirely, in the confusion of a blacked-out night sky. Both bridges are down to be blown. Both sets of demolition charges are found nearby, never fitted. Corporal Ted Tappenden gets on the radio and sends 2 words over and over: ham and jam. Ham for the Canal Bridge, jam for the River Bridge. Both objectives captured completely intact. 90 minutes after 6 gliders left the ground in Dorset, that message reaches divisional headquarters. The eastern flank of the entire invasion now has a door held open by fewer than 200 men. Holding it until daylight is another matter entirely. At 0050, the 7th Parachute Battalion should be landing in tight formation on Drop Zone N, just northeast of Ranville. Instead, the drop scatters across the dark Normandy countryside, and men spend the next hour finding each other by torchlight and whistle before they can even start marching for the bridges. Brigadier Nigel Poet, who jumped early with the Pathfinders, reaches Howard at 0052. Reinforcement is coming. It is just coming in pieces. By 0300, Lieutenant Colonel Pinecoffin has gathered enough of his scattered battalion to move. He marches what he has to the bridges and starts digging in on the western perimeter, in Benouville and the neighboring village of Laporte, directly in the path of whatever the Germans send next. Around 90 minutes after the bridges fall, a German armored vehicle, accounts differ on whether it was a light tank or a half-track, pushes up the road from Benouville toward the T-junction by the town hall. Sergeant Wagger Thornton has the company's last working PIAT anti-tank weapon. He lets it close to under 50 yards, then fires. The vehicle's own ammunition goes up behind it. Nothing else follows it up the road that night. Through the morning, German mortar and sniper fire probes the perimeter around both bridges, testing whether the small British force can be pushed back before it is reinforced. It cannot. Pinecoffin's paratroopers and Howard's glider infantry hold the same few hundred meters of ground they took in the dark, hour after hour, with no armor of their own and nowhere to fall back to. Around 10 o'clock, a German aircraft drops a single bomb onto the canal bridge itself. It strikes the structure, fails to detonate, and skips harmlessly into the water. The bridge that has already survived a night assault now survives an airstrike by pure chance. 4 miles north, at 0700, the main invasion begins. Thousands of men land at Sword Beach as part of the largest seaborne assault in history. Among them, Lord Lovat's 1st Special Service Brigade, commandos tasked with one specific job: fight their way inland and relieve the men holding the bridges, who have now been standing alone for more than 6 hours. At 1332, barely 2.5 minutes behind the timetable Howard had been promised, Lovat's commandos reach the canal bridge. Piper Bill Millen walks them across it, playing, in full view of anyone left who might still be shooting. It is the first link-up between the airborne troops who dropped in the dark and the seaborne troops who landed at dawn. The door that opened at 0021 has held for over 13 hours. At 21:15 that night, the bridges are formally handed to the 2nd Battalion, Royal Warwickshire Regiment, closing the operation exactly as it was briefed. Almost a year of rehearsal ending on schedule, to the letter. The cost of taking both bridges: 2 men killed, 14 wounded, out of 181. Holding them through the rest of the day cost the reinforcing paratroopers far more: 18 dead, 36 wounded. The Canal Bridge would later be renamed Pegasus Bridge, after the flying horse on the Airborne Force's own shoulder patch. Major Howard received the Distinguished Service Order. Lieutenant Brotheridge, who never lived to hear the name Pegasus Bridge at all, was mentioned in dispatches. Sergeant Thornton, whose Piat round at the T-junction stopped the only serious armored probe of the night, received the Military Medal. Staff Sergeant Walwork and 7 other glider pilots, the men who put 6 wooden aircraft down in the dark, within yards of their targets, with no second attempt possible, were awarded the Distinguished Flying Medal. 6 gliders, 181 men, and 10 minutes. That is what held the eastern flank of D-Day open long enough for an entire invasion to walk through it. If you want the next one, we are staying in exactly this territory, the raid that walked out of a Japanese POW camp with 500 prisoners still alive. Subscribe if you want reconstructions like this one, minute by minute, mapped by hand, sourced properly, and tell me in the comments which theater you want mapped next.